Hello buddy and welcome, I'm Common Cam, and in this video I'm going to be showcasing the art department of ILM, all of the character concept art that was created for Transformers 1. I want to give a shout out to the character designer team, Amy Beth Christenson Smith, Chris Voy, and Evan Whitefield. As well as director Josh Cooley, production designer Jason Scheier, art director Gerald D. Jesus, producer Aaron Dem, and art production designer Jonathan Hymen for giving us some fantastic character designs. I can't wait to dive deep into all of these. I'll leave a link to the official ILM website where you can check these out for yourself. I'm going to be going in a particular order. We're going to be talking about the minor bots first and their evolution, and then we'll talk about the High Guard, other Cybertronian characters, and then finally the 13 Primes. First up, let's talk about Orion Pax / Optimus Prime. I mean, just look at the incredible scale here, from his minor mode to his eventual prime mode. I love that there's such a massive difference in height. It just goes to show how crucial a T-Cog is for a Transformer. We get good looking images of his vehicle mode, and I just love how they've called it a big rig, because yeah, the dude becomes a big rig as soon as he gets his T-Cog. And I just love how identical the Matrix is to the original 1986 movie. I mean, the Matrix has barely changed in design over the years. It's had a mix-up near and there, but it's remained fairly consistent, and you just can't beat the original design, and it really fits perfectly with this Optimus Prime. Moving on to D16 / Megatron, and I just love the evolution of this design. He gets much more sharper, a lot more aggressive, and it works for a story in the film. That descent into madness, it really comes across well here. I love how the pattern on his torso evolves as well to the classic Generation 1 Megatron. And the rotation of the sort of looking rib cages is just so sweet. I really like how the original minor and T-Cog design borrowed from that classic Marvel Comics head design that originally they were going to go for. It's a subtle nod to his evolution in real life. I mean, yeah, because just look at this, the various facial expressions. The black helmet really does work for minor mode D16. If you were curious how these designs would look without optics, here you go, that's what they look like. I much prefer the optics, but still the classic Generation 1 filled in eyes are really cool as well. I can understand why they chose optics, and I think it worked better for the film, just so you could get more expression from the characters, because if they went with this, I think with some audiences it would have been hard to sort of communicate that emotion. Now talking about B-127, now this is basically just pulled from the Bumblebee movie. You know, this is how we saw him in the B movie, especially in his vehicle mode. I mean, let's face it, it's just a direct copy. Perhaps for one character that didn't have a major difference between his minor mode and his cog mode. I mean, it's Bumblebee, what much are you going to do differently? You know, he's still recognizable, it's still a sweet design, and yeah, I think regardless, B-127 looks really nice here. Now moving on to a Leader 1, I did a design ranking video where I go in more depth about this design, so if you want to check that out, link will be in the description below. In that video I'm joined by my good friend Lalita. We go into extensive detail on how we like both modes. I just wish the finials on the minor mode were just kept for when she got her cog, but regardless, this vehicle mode, as I stated in that video, her vehicle mode is basically the Bumblebee movie RC. Now we actually didn't get to see that transform in the film because she was never intended to have a vehicle mode until Hasbro of course wanted to make toys, so they gave her this vehicle mode, and it's good to actually see this play out in the film. Now I like it for this film. I'm hoping in the sequels that she gets more of a truck mode because I think that's more appropriate for a Leader 1, and with her becoming a commander, I'm pretty sure she's going to beef up a little bit, so I hope that they experiment there. And while we're on the topic of RC, we'll talk about RC's cog mode at the end of the film. This is basically just the Bumblebee movie RC. Once again, this is just for the last few seconds of the film, so I can understand why they pulled this directly from that. It's a great reference to pull from. Of course, the sequels can develop this a little bit further. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'm sure they will in some way or another, but RC looks really sweet here. She looks really nice in this animation. And the same can be said for Jazz. I was so happy when he got his door wings at the end of the film. He looked so happy, and I hope we actually get to see him as well featured a lot more in the sequel, because it's Jazz, you know. I'm hoping he becomes a commander in some way as well. He's actually the one minor bot that got the most attention throughout the film, you know, interacting with Orion Pax a lot, so I feel like they're definitely going to develop Jazz a lot further, and here's hoping that his voice actor Evan Lee is back to give more Jazz. Now let's talk about those minor bots. We have every single minor bot in the film that's listed with names. Sideswipe, Ironhide, Jazz, RC, Sunstreaker, Brawn, Wheeljack, Hound, Prowl, Chromia, Firestar, and Moonracer. That is Moonracer right there. I know I got a lot of comments about my Chromia video, debunking the 2 Chromias that we can see in the film, and that was quickly explained by Jason Scheier, the production designer of the film. Chromia in minor form was just an eternal name associated for her colour palette, just so they could look at it for reference. They just wanted to reuse the colour for the minors. The racer version of Chromia is the correct one. So there's no like in-depth story details why there's 2 Chromias. This is not named Chromia. I mean, there are multiple people on the planet called Cameron, so I guess there could be multiple people on Cybertron called Chromia, right? So it's not like they own the name. I guess that's one way to look at it. But yeah, something like this is easily confusing for the fans, and it was cleared up. And that right there at the end is Moonracer. The amount of comments I got saying that the second Chromia was Moonracer, guys, the designs are totally different, and it says it right there, the name Moonracer. I mean, Moonracer actually spoke in the film as well, when she told Orion Pax about Sentinel Prime telling them that they were killed from their race injuries. So yeah, all of these minor bots look really nice. Of course, they're supposed to be like the soulless Transformer. They're forced to work in the mines. They haven't reached their full potential, and when we got to see a few of them at the end get their cog, the sort of liberation on their face, how happy they were. You know, we got Sideswipe, Ironhide, Jazz, RC, Prowl. You know, we got to see them finally get their cogs, and yeah, here's hoping in the sequels that they develop that design a lot further, because they're going to change up the designs for the sequels. You know, Hasbro would want that anyway, just for the sake of selling brand new toys. They'll make them redesign them in various new ways, and here's hoping for me personally, as a big fan of the Hymen Studios Cybertron games, that they lean towards those designs just a little bit. Now let's move on to the High Guard, and let's name every single Seeker here. From the left, we have Thundercracker, Skywarp, Dirge, Ramjet, Thrust, Slipstream, Wingstun, and Redwing. Looking so gorgeous. They're so beautiful together. I really, really like all of these guys here. Really unique designs. I like how each individual Seeker has something different about him. Of course, you know, we've got the cone heads. You know, they've got that iconic cone, but their chest is slightly different. Like, I love how different Thundercracker and Skywarp are. Like, they have a completely different chest, and they've got different missiles as well. When it comes to the cone heads, you know, it was only Dirge and Ramjet that are the same except for the face and wings. But you know, we can look at Thrust here, and he's got a completely reworked chest. It looks really, really nice. Slipstream, Redwing, and Redsun are basically the same design, but obviously different head, different wings, but still look really cool. You know, we see so many copies of these guys throughout the film, and with more unique color palettes. Like, these aren't the only colors we see in the film. Now, it's only appropriate that we talk about Starscream next. Looking so sweet. I love this design so much. I mean, it's voiced by Steve Buscemi, and I think Steve is perfect for Starscream. I love this performance in the film. I mean, Steve Buscemi is such a great talent, one of my favorite actors of all time, so the fact that he played Starscream, yeah, I was excited for that. I don't understand the criticism against him, because I think he nailed it. I mean, just look at that detail up close. It's the Starscream that we all know and love, and just look at that face. The pupil detail is insane. We have various expressions as well of Starscream, which is really nice. Of course, just testing out the expressions of each character, trying to really nail that, and they nailed it with Starscream. We've got him happy, we got him smirky, we got him angry. We got Starscream in all different kinds of expressions here. Now let's talk about Soundwave, one of my favourite designs in the film, because I love this sort of anime-like proportions. Like, I like the shoulders, and they just like bump up really well from his chest, and his vehicle mode actually has purpose this time. Of course, in the Bumblebee movie, he didn't have one, but then Hasbro came up with one for the studio series so we could sell a toy, and that one just looked terrible, and I like how they took basically that but made it better and actually gave it purpose in the film. Like, using his sound waves to break free the prisoners. It's like every High Guard had a purpose in the film. I kind of wish though that we got to see more of Shockwave's alternate mode, because this is directly pulled from the High Moon Studios Cybertron games. I mean, this is fantastic, this is brilliant, this is where you just know that they are paying attention to the lore, they have looked to those games. I mean, of course they would, it's set on Cybertron and they're making a film set on Cybertron, and the fact that they just took that and gave it to Shockwave in the film, oh, just the detail is incredible. It just looks so fantastic. I like how his arm cannon actually integrates in the front of his jet mode as well. Really sweet, really awesome. I can't tell you how much I love this guy. I am so tempted to just redo my Shockwave video just so I can put this design in it. Of course, his robot mode is the Shockwave we all know and love. He is essentially the Generation 1 Shockwave, but I like how his shoulders have got more of the, like with Soundwave, they really mixed up the proportions and hit the yellow eye as well, so iconic, and I like how they switched it to the red eye when he became a Decepticon at the end of the film. Now I'm going to include him here because he is listed as a Decepticon. We have Reflector. Yes, a cut character that was going to be in the film. Maybe we'll get a studio series in the future, like how we saw with the concept art studio series Megatron and Rumble and Frenzy. This, wow, I would have loved to have seen this. Maybe he's actually in the film, in that crowd at the end, and we just don't see him properly because there are just so many characters in that scene chanting Megatron. But this looks cool. I am a big fan of the Reflectors. Like, I have always wanted more from them in the series, and it's a shame that they haven't really had anything to do in recent Transformers lore. So the fact that they were considered for this, it's really sweet. And their vehicle modes as well is pretty interesting. I mean, it's Reflectors. They can't change into a camera, you know, because cameras don't exist on Cybertron. So they came up with this, and I think it works for Reflector. I imagine they probably have different alternate mode ideas as well. I like how that Transformers Animated made them all combine as one into like a big cannon, so maybe they could do something like that in the sequel, who knows. But don't fret guys, there is hope. With this concept art existing, there's a good chance we'll see him in the sequel to Transformers 1, or see them in the sequel. One thing I was hoping would get revealed is all of the designs that was in the IACON 5000 race, because we got so many, and I'm glad we actually get to see full-on concept art of them. Now these aren't named, these are just called gauntlets, because they are just like basically generic Transformers used for the race and throughout. So name them whatever you want until we get something official from Hasbro or anyone on the Transformers 1 team. I'm just going to call these gauntlets 1, 2 and 3, etc. And you know, one thing I like about all of these designs, it reminds me of the video game Wipeout. Has anyone played Wipeout? Let me know in the comment section below. Wipeout was one of my favourite games as a kid, and the IACON 5000 race just felt like the Wipeout game come to life. I'll be very curious if anyone on the team was a big fan of that game, because I could see a lot of inspiration with these vehicle modes here. I think what does it most for me is the logos as well. The logos were a big thing of Wipeout, and seeing them on these designs look really cool. I like this one, for example. I think a lot of people have been calling this one Override. I could be wrong, but I like the vehicle mode choice. It's so badass looking, so well polished as well. I like the variety they have in each of the jet modes. Like, this is a female jet. I like the big bulkiness of this jet mode. The stickers slapped all over it with the Cybertronian language just works so well. This design in particular, this race car, reminds me a lot of Wipeout. It's got that sleek, slim looking style. We have another female racer here looking really nice. Another fantastic design, this male hovercraft. This is Wipeout vibes all the way. I like that head design as well. Now you could name these anyone, and it doesn't matter because they don't have official names. But it'll be interesting to see what names on the leaderboard that fans will attach to these designs, because none of them have like a direct reference or an homage to a previous Transformer design, and that's what I want. I want fresh Transformers names, fresh Transformers designs, something that we've never seen before, just so we can create new characters. Of course, it's nice to see our old familiar characters, and Transformers have got a huge library, but you know, for a race set on Cybertron, I think it was appropriate to give us widely unique and different designs that we probably unfortunately will never see again. I mean, just look at this design right here. The robot mode gives me sort of Gundam vibes, which I'm really digging, but the actual jet mode, a slight nod to Transformers Animated Lugnut, which is really nice. Now this design right here is particularly interesting. This female Radicar racer, shares the exact same body type as Prowl at the end of the film. So yeah, if you look very closely, you can see him transform into this design, which I think is really cool. I like the colours on this female racer here. I like the patterns on the vehicle mode. I love how massive those wheels are. So knowing that Prowl transforms into something like this, it looks actually pretty badass when you see it up close and personal like this. Now for our final IACON 5000 racer, we have this mail truck, and boy, he is a cool looking truck. I really like that head design, gives me Brawl and Bruticus kind of vibes. I want to give this guy a name and I just don't know what name to put on him. I'll be alright with just calling him Gauntlet, to be honest. He looks like Gauntlet. Even though they're all named Gauntlet, I would like to call him Gauntlet. Now let's talk about the baddies of the movie, and first up is Sentinel Prime, and wow, he so awesome. I like how his toes become the Bayverse Optimus Prime toe. That's like a subtle little nod for sure. He's so armored up, so badass. I loved seeing this in the film. Like everyone has been saying, the one downside to Sentinel Prime's design is we never actually got to see his alternate mode, but I think that was intentional. My theory is that because Sentinel is so full of himself, he doesn't think he needs vehicle mode or jet mode, whatever, to be superior. He thinks his robot mode is superior enough. So maybe that is the reason. Maybe he does transform and he just refuses to because he just, I don't know, has vanity issues or something like that. Now he does have a vehicle mode when it comes to the toy. The Studio Series came up with one for him, basically a typical jet mode. But still, regardless, his robot design is just so badass. I like the mix of colours. I like how the blue works so well with that gold. Really nice. Also very nice is Arachnid, looking very terrifying, so menacing. She transforms into a drone. Now a lot of people have been curious why she is so much like a spider. Yeah, people spell her name wrong all the time. They spell it like the animal Arachnid, but if you actually look at the name, it's A-I-R. I know, it's still kind of daft and easy to get confused, but in the War for Cybertron games, there was spiders on the planet. Spider-like, I should say, and they're really annoying in the game. But she's supposed to just have spider-like features. She actually transforms into a drone. Much like her original incarnation in Optimus Prime, she transformed into a helicopter when she scanned her alt mode. And this one here, very similar, but more leaning towards a drone. But regardless, I like this design so much. I like that it incorporates that spider-like features. It's a gimmick. It's supposed to be just a gimmick. And when she opens up her head, yeah, it's definitely intense in the film, for sure. I like it. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of this feature, but I think it was the most clever way to move the plot forward in the film. So it does have a purpose, and it just goes to show how Arachnid is the most loyal bot from Sentinel Prime. That is why she is so terrifying and so menacing. She is constantly on alert, and it really just worked for the film. We have concept art here of how that memory part plays out, getting it from her point of view, which is really nice. I like it when I see concept art like this, seeing the small details. You know, you just want to see the character design, but when it comes to the actual features that the character has, I think it's just a massive bonus. Now there were concepts for a spider drone, so we wanted to push that a little bit more, and it would make sense for Arachnid to have an army like this. You know, it would make more sense why she can see so much in areas that she probably can't go to, like she has to be by Sentinel Prime's side, so she would send these drones out for surveillance in case there's something she can't see with the hundreds of eyes that she has. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong guys, I don't believe we actually ever saw this in the film. Moving on to our final section, we have the 13 primes. And with Alpha Trion, I have really warmed up to this design. Of course, it's not about that, yeah, he was a beast mode before in the Power of the Primes or something like that. It's the fact that for Transformers 1, I just wasn't expecting him to have this as a vehicle mode. But I think in context of the film, it's really nice. It's nice to have something different. And it's not my default for Alpha Trion, but I don't think I ever had a default idea for Alpha Trion to begin with. So this is like pretty much the standard going forward, that he's going to look like this lion unicorn beast. I'm really digging it. Moving on to more of the 13 primes, we have Megatronus, looking really badass, really awesome. I also did a design ranking video of Megatronus the Fallen, so check that out if you haven't already. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a vehicle mode like most of these primes. It's only Alpha Trion we see with a vehicle mode. Maybe it's just due to timing, they just couldn't explore that part of them, but I would have loved to have had ideas of what Megatronus was going to transform into, because that is such a badass looking robot mode. A very weird looking dude for sure. This is the most bizarre Transformer design yet, but it's something unique at the very least. You know, it's something different. It's had various designs before that have been a bit too complicated, so they just simplified it for this movie, and yeah, I mean, he's a menacing looking dude, to be honest. Really weird. Moving on to Micronus, the smallest Prime, perhaps the smallest Transformer. I love his little mace. I love his little grin he's got on his face as well. He's just a big ball. You know, I can't really imagine what he transforms into. Probably just a massive ball. But Onyx Prime though. Oh wow, I would love to see what this dude transforms into. Probably like a big pigeon? No, probably like a massive hawk or something like that. Something similar. I mean, he's got very beast-like features, so that would explain why some Transformers in the sequels would probably have like beast modes, because each of his primes adds something unique to Cybertronian culture, Cybertronian biology, and Onyx Prime is a fine example of that. Moving on to Primer, very glossy, very wide. I love how noble this guy looks from the get-go. Of course, in the Align continuity, Primer was one of the first creations of Primus. So whether or not that lore still applies for this film, I don't know. But very similar to the Align continuity as well is the design of Quintus Prime here. I wonder how Quintus Prime is related to the Quintessons in the Transformers 1 universe. Like, maybe Quintus, unfortunately, is the reason they were created. Maybe it'll play out something similar in the Aligned. Maybe there's something really dark there. Like, maybe this is all Quintus's fault. Moving on to Zeta Prime. I am so glad that Zeta Prime is now a separate character and not affiliated with Sentinel Prime. In the Align continuity, Zeta Prime was meant to be a standalone character, but because Hasbro wanted to merge the Cybertron games with their own new lore, like in Transformers Prime, they had no choice but to call Zeta Prime Sentinel Zeta Prime, so that was merged as one character. But in this film, Zeta Prime is his own standalone character, and as someone who loved Zeta Prime in the War for Cybertron video game, it's just so good to see this similar design again. And there we have it, guys. That's all of the character designs that we have so far from Transformers 1. I imagine that more will be revealed as the years go on. Fantastic concept art. Big thanks to everyone on the design team of Transformers 1 for actually showcasing all of these, especially through Twitter and etc. I will leave a link to the ILM website in the description below if you want to see these designs closer up for yourself. But there we have it, guys. I've been Common and Cam. For more Transformers 1 videos, because I've got a lot, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and click that notification bell to get all updates instantly. Until then, goodbye.